YouTube Live broadcast that I recently started using, and I'm still trying to figure out what is the exact format I would like to have here. But my basic idea is to use it, unlike my podcast, which is I'm Gaming Podcast, to talk about more or less exclusively the video game industry and things happening in the same space that I kind of find relevant and interesting, but which are more up to date and current, unlike my podcast episodes that are mostly about prolonged stuff that is happening at the rate of months, even years. In this case, I would use YouTube Live to kind of figure out an approach to talk and discuss stuff related to the things happening now. And the topic of today's broadcast is basically what's up with August and all those remakes and reboots of video games that were famous, well known years ago or even decades ago that are presently being remade and remastered in many cases. And a lot of them are coming in the next couple days. So we already have the Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, we have Gears of War Reloaded, we have the Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar. All of those are coming out at the end of the August, this August 2025. And the question is, why? Why now? What is happening and why so many remakes, not just in August, but in the last year or so? Well, first things first is that the present state of the video game industry is pretty bad, and the crisis that is currently happening since 2023 is ongoing, and the effects of that are immense. And making remakes and reboots, remasters, is a safer bet basically. So you have a much better chance of not making a flop, which is what many teams are presently looking to do. So you're not actually trying to make a hit, you're simply not trying to make it implode completely and utterly. So a remake is by default a safer bet. Hey Samuel, thanks a lot for checking in. Thanks a lot for checking out this broadcast. I appreciate it a lot. So a big hi to you as well. So we have that factor of simply having remakes as something that is much safer. There is the factor of nostalgia. They will probably sell okayish. There is a really small chance of, for example, Metal Gear Solid not selling at all, even though it's somewhat of a controversial project because Hideo Kojima is no longer present in the remake or the reboot, they're calling it remake, but it's almost certainly going to sell well. So this is a good chance for studios to have projects that are already in a state where they completely understood or understand what's working well, what's working less well with the original. For example, Metal Gear Solid 3 is 20 years old, and they can focus on the technical enhancements, making it look better while not risking anything in that game design point of view. And that is a big boon to the developers as well, making it another element that is appealing. Secondly or thirdly, you have franchises. Every game that I mentioned, so Metal Gear Solid, Gears of War, Dawn of War, there are all huge franchises. Gears of War, of course, a big series. Dawn of War, set in the Warhammer universe, Warhammer 40k. All of those have more or less a secure audience. And presently, again, with the gaming crisis, game industry crisis, those secure audiences are a big benefit and something that companies, studios are really looking to engage with more than find new audiences or risk anything, because risk is the first step towards making a great game, but also towards making a flop. And presently, for many teams, that possibility of having a flop could be a death sentence, and for many is. It was a death sentence even before their games came out. If we just consider how many games were shut down, how many projects were basically turned off completely or put on hold indefinitely in the last, let's say, year or so. And finally, you have that option of having both your risk and your reward balance themselves out thanks to all of these factors. And chances are you won't get a hit. You won't get a massive game that is super successful, even though there are signs to contrary. For example, Elder Scrolls Oblivion was a massive hit on its own right, in its own right, even though it was basically a remake in total sense. But all of these games that I mentioned are risking the possibility of them having kind of a mediocre audience, a mediocre result. But the chances of them failing completely are incredibly low. And there isn't that possibility of the developers experimenting with something that turns out to be a complete failure, something that the audiences basically hate. Here we have already a set of beloved games that will simply look better, act better, be available for new devices, new audiences, more or less. Hey, Andrew. Thanks for saying hi. And these audiences, again, a big hi to you, Andrew, as well. These audiences have a chance of spreading the word, expanding these games, bringing more focus and more attention to these franchises. In every case, basically a franchise. And once that happens, the franchises is or are getting stronger and thus opening up more possibilities for new sequels, brand new games, and completely new, let's say, adventures in the game sense, but still in well-known, secure, safe franchises. And that's the reason why the month of August is so big with remakes and reboots and reimaginings of all games. And more or less the previous year, or even longer than that, was also massive in the same sense. Will the same trend continue? Almost certainly. Right now, it does not pay off to risk. And even companies like Capcom, which are very established, immense, powerful, with huge corporate coffers, are really hesitant about new intellectual properties, new series, new IPs, and more than willing to dig through their library, find old games, and make them new once again. Is that good for the gaming audience as a whole? Well, in the long run, not particularly, because we're basically rehashing stuff that we know that works without trying out new stuff, and that usually brings to stagnation and then a gradual downfall in the long run when we're talking years. But at the present state of the game industry, at the present state of funds that are available to teams, even massive teams, even huge teams that are working in the AAA industry, this is the safe way to go. And we need to understand that a lot of those team leads, a lot of the shot callers at these companies are not just looking to make a profit. Right now, a lot of them are basically in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, the only objective is not to fail completely. Everything else is not that worst case scenario, so it's a win. That's it for this YouTube Live. Thanks a lot for being here with me. Thanks a lot to Samuel. Thanks a lot to Andrew. It's a pleasure having you here. And of course, everyone else who's been watching, a big thanks. Hope you join me on my next upload or my next broadcast. And I hope you check out the rest of my channel. If you're first time here, please check out all of my other videos and possibly subscribe, possibly leave a like on this broadcast. Again, a big thanks for being here. My name is Ivica. Enjoy the rest of your day and I'll talk to you soon. Until then, goodbye.